Hey, welcome back to the Backyard Professor Chess videos. I found an interesting way to show you even better the idea of target consciousness, focusing on thinking about what are the targets, and I've put dots on the pieces in this training game that I had with my chess coach. The dots represent the pieces that are the targets in this game. This might help show a little bit better about the target idea, right? So e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3. We're doing the typical standard opening, knight f6, bishop g5 against the knight, of course, bishop e7 to take off the pin, e5 attacking my knight, and I put my knight on e4. Most of the time you can dodge down, but this time I went up just to see what will this effect have on my game. It's fun to experiment in the training games. That's the point. Not whether you win or lose, but get to see things in a new light. Try different ideas and techniques. Try different combinations of attacks and defense and see what comes of it, right? So this is what I was doing. Well, the bishop took my bishop, and so of course the queen responded. So I didn't put that bishop as a target. That's not necessarily target consciousness. That's just responding to there was nothing else better to do than retake the bishop, right? So you retake the bishop. And then the knight takes e4, and so my response of d takes e4 isn't necessarily a target as such. It's a response to him taking my knight, right? More or less. So we're getting close to the point to where target consciousness becomes really important. I wanted to castle pretty early here. And he brings his queen to c2, hitting my pawn. A good move for the queen. And now f5. Now, I admit at this point, I was playing several things, developing over here, bringing all this into play and all that. And I played through it. Oh, the rating. Oh, I didn't write the rating down. It's somewhere in the 17, high 17s, probably low 1800 rating. Oh, I like to write the rating down. Dang it, man. Anyway, so I was tinkering for a while with this, experimenting, and the move that my coach said is that one. Incidentally, I learned something cool by asking the coach here, because from now on, if I do move the knight up and it does get exchanged and I have that pawn structure there, this becomes a really sweet move. It surprised me because it's an F-pawn move, and Ben Feingold says, don't move the F-pawn, right? Well, Alec said move the F-pawn. Very interesting how this works. And he did take it en passant. Yeah? So he took it, and then of course my queen takes the pawn. The pawn wasn't a target. That is simply a response. I mean, it is a target, of course, but not a deliberate target to how to improve my position and gain the initiative and do an attack, right? So far you can see I haven't targeted a lot yet. I'm still in the process of the opening and the give and the take of the opening. Yeah? Knight h3, and I go e5, hitting a target, and opening up to hit a target. That is the defender of this pawn. Taking that will wreck the pawn structure for the kingside castle, if he chooses to kingside castle. So, no, technically they're not weaknesses as such yet. I mean, it is protected, it's guarded. And this one does have a backup pawn, but they're still targets. They're still targets. He has the pawn majority on this side, 4 to 3, and I have doubled pawns here. Doubled pawns are not a weakness if they're not blockaded, if they're not stopped from progressing. I mean, especially in this position, I have no pawns here or here. Man, if the queen was here blockading those pawns, they could be a weakness. They could become targets, yes? But pushing the pawn forward to hit a target is a good strategy to do with the doubled pawns. So at this point, there's no weakness here. Potential, but not really. It's a very useful move because it opens up two targets. I'm probably over-explaining. I have a tendency to do that. I don't mean to, but I really enjoy learning about this game. Bishop c4 check. And the king to h8. Now, D takes the e5. And rather than take the pawn, now it was a target, but he beat me to the punch. But rather than take the pawn, which I did, my coach says go to here, queen g6, and hit this pawn as the target. Remember I said in one of the earlier videos, just because you have a target doesn't mean you instantly take it, because sometimes that can give you a weaker attack or a weaker defense, etc. This is one of those cases. It is better to target that pawn. It forces the king to cover. And technically that's not true either, because the rook could have done that. Yeah. So my saying it forced the king is wrong. The king did come over to watch that. And now there is no castling going to be involved. Okay? That's a factor in this game. You have to watch that. Perhaps why that target was better than this one. Right? Now, because there's no castling, and I still have the bead on that pawn, now the target gets taken. Boom. Yes. Destroy that pawn structure. Absolutely. No, the knight was not a weak piece. It didn't matter. It's a target. Take it, take it, take it. Now the king cover is much weaker. And now I have a better position. Or at least he has a worse position than he did earlier. So it's deteriorating. That's the idea of target consciousness. Yeah? Okay, so I'm liking this. This is working. I came to queen c6. Oh, crap. I didn't put that as the target. Holy cow, I lied. There goes 200 rating points. The bishop, now watch the double target though. The bishop here, now look at my possible move here to expose that rook. So technically, it wasn't a direct target. It could have been an indirect target. I didn't think of calling it an indirect target, but it does affect how he moves, so I'm going to call it an indirect. Wow, the things you learn. You keep playing through your games. So target, the idea of targets, now that I've destroyed the pawn structure, go after another target and another potential target on the king side. Right? Because look, by keeping my, and yeah, I'm moving my queen a bit. Yes, I don't have everything developed yet. This theme of target consciousness has really somewhat, I mean, for lack of a better way to describe it, what evolved my thinking, changed my thinking somewhat about speedy development. More, be sure and use as many pieces as you can is becoming the theme in some respects. So I'm changing my thinking too. You have to, otherwise you're not going to improve in your chess, right? So I've got another target, and he brings this to e2, which isn't bad because it's a little bit nearer to his king. But now, queen c5 is a great little move. It's a small move, somewhat quiet move, but look at what this does. Hits the target that's at the end of the open file. Where do rooks belong? Open files. When he en passant took me, he opened up my file. Now this is a checkmate threat. Nice. Yeah? Very nice. Bishop to g4 opens up the defense with the queen to protecting that pawn. So the checkmate threat disappears. He puts his bishop on an outpost, so the bishop is covered. But that doesn't eliminate the threat. That just gives me another option of my pawn bumping up one. Again, hitting the pawn that's getting severe pressure, right? That's not bad. The pawn is pinned, so attack the pinned piece with the pawn in this instance, with the backing of a queen. Very nice. I'm liking this very much. Queen to b3. Perhaps trying to distract me by threatening here. He's got nothing here. He can't really attack here because his own pawn's in the way. So maybe a distracting move. Now that my pawn stopped the queen from doing a quick checkmate, the queen feels it can do another attack, a counter attack is what I should say. Yeah. At this point, I wanted to do something completely different. I can't remember what it was. I was so enamored in using my entire. I'll just bet you a dime to donuts it was bringing this out and hitting the pawn. I'll just bet you anything it was that. Or was it here? Anyway, no, it wasn't there because of the bishop. Yeah, it was there. I wanted to do this. And the coach said, no. No. You have a better move. You have a much better target than this pawn. I said, don't tell me you're going to take that pawn. I don't want to take that pawn. No, that was the wrong thinking too. Taking that pawn would just stifle everything. Can you see that? I mean, man, when you get in that position, don't do that. You've got the pin, and now you can't bump the pawn in. It stops your rook from being powerful. You know, that goofs you up. So you want to be careful of that. Well, Alekin told me, go here, check. And I go, whoa, that's what a chess coach is for. I had tinker-toyed with a few ideas. That is by far a much better move for this training game, right? So see, the idea of seeing something new, man, I see it. That is wonderful. Well, the king takes it. Now, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. For what it's worth, well, no, that wouldn't have helped. Come to think of it, that wouldn't have helped because now you've got to check. No, yeah, he did it right. Yeah, the king has to take it. All right, well, see, that's the value of re-looking at things. Yeah, see, this is the value of target consciousness because I've got so much pressure on this poor little guy. The king really does have to come out in the open so that he doesn't get checkmated by the cross check. So this is good. That's fun to see. The bishop wouldn't have been as good. Very nice, very nice. Well, now take the pawn. Certainly. Check. Yes. Check, heavens yes. King comes to d3. Now I get to bring my other rook into this game. Open file, yes. I had an open file, and it has served its purpose very well. But that's not a reason to just leave it there now. Keep using it, nab the other open file, and check the king. Right? Very nice. The king can't come back into here. The king isn't going to go over into here because of all the pawns and my knight. See, in a way, it actually has helped me that I have not developed that queen side just yet. You notice I've been doing a lot of manipulation and maneuvering. That's how target consciousness kind of changes the way you play the game. And this is wonderful to behold for that reason. So my rook checks, and now the king has to come to e4. Now, just a quick observation. I still have the open file with the queen, so this avenue is shut off. Now I have the other open file across from the king. He is pinned. Look, that square's covered. His pawn's in his way. He's pinned. Whoa! Hold on here. This is looking kind of cool. So, do you see what that move does? Oh, fun stuff. We are looking for the target of c5 with the knight, forking the queen and checkmating the king. Right? That'd be a great way to checkmate the king, wouldn't it? So you're at a6. And the queen gotta do something, so she comes to c4. Now you know it's checkmate, so go ahead and throw the check in there anyway. Because he is forced with his queen to take the knight. Yeah, that's why the queen's a target. No joke. And now the queen takes the queen. Isn't that a great tactic? That is so cool. Don't forget the idea of a file on one side of the king and a file on the other side of the king. That keeps that king right where you want him. My fortune in this game is his own pawn was stopping him. He was stuck right there. So what a great tactic. What a great way to enforce your initiative on your opponent, yeah? Rook H comes to E1, trying to bump in some support somehow for the king. Well, you come straight across, check. And the king, I do believe, yes, went to F5. And now you're in the other open file. And you can bring your rook back to his other open file and go check. Notice the influence, not necessarily the work up and down in the files, but the influence of the open files with the rook and the queen on this. Very, very powerful in this game, yeah? Always fun to notice that stuff. Yes? Now the king comes to G5, trying harder and harder to escape. Now, I said here, check, and the coach said here, check. And I'll show you why the coach was right. I was saying here check because in case the king escaped, I don't think the king would escape. The trouble is that bishop and pawn pair is strong. I had this pawn, but I also had targets, right? So I was thinking target conscious, right? I'm trying my best to learn how to best utilize this. Well, this was the better move. Coach was right. But it's fun to learn, right? So he comes again over to H5, and now G6. Check, absolutely. Force him right down to here, and now what do you have? You have queen right there to h4 check. The only move he's got left is the bishop. You've got your pawn protecting you, so you bump down and go checkmate. Very fun. Very untrue. That's true, you know. I did not use that rook. That's true. So I feel bad about that. I used to really pontificate hard. Every piece, no exception and all that. Target consciousness has changed that just a little bit to where you want to use as many pieces as possible in order to complete your objective without leaving half of your pieces home. I didn't leave half my pieces home. I did leave one piece, though. I confess, that's true. But in the process, I learned the value. See, I'm rusty. I'm new to this kind of chess thinking, so some of my target conscious moves were either too soon or the wrong direction, but the right idea. And that's why the training game, you practice this over and over again, and eventually you'll figure out all those different nuances. So there's your chess video. Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoy making these for you. I hope you're getting something out of them. I appreciate all your enthusiasm and support and love. I love you guys, you chess hoodlums, you. We're going to chess hoodlums of the world unite. Yes! All right, hey, you have a fabulous day, and I will see you guys in the next chess video.